This is the story of Kill Hill Zero. Evan is a regular high schooler and an avid gamer. He has nothing to do on Halloween night, so decides to dig around his old game cartridges to see if he can find something he hasn't seen before. As he's looking, he comes across a game case he's never seen before. It's pure black with the words Kill Hill scratched into the front. Curious, he takes out the cartridge and loads it into his computer to see what kind of game it is. After it loads, he sees that instead of the normal title screen, it goes straight to the play button. Pressing it, he hears the normal click, but nothing happens. "That's weird," he says. Despite nothing happening on screen, his computer is whirring like it's trying to load something huge. Evan ejects the game and reinserts it to see if anything changes. Nothing does, so he decides to try another one. Then the same thing happens. He tries a third game, and the same thing happens again. That's strange, he thinks. Did the game break my computer? He looks inside the box labeled Kill Hill and finds a shabby instruction manual he hadn't seen before. Shaking off the dust, he opens it and starts to read. Kill Hill Zero. The only way out is down. You're at the top of Kill Hill. That's all it says. Confused, Evan tries one last time to insert the game cartridge and boot the game. The computer makes the same whirring noise as before, but this time a new screen comes up. It's the silhouette of a hill with a figure on top. The sky is red. The whole screen flickers every few seconds in an unnerving way. The same play button as before appears on the screen. Not thinking anything of it, Evan presses it. He's thrown into the game. The screen goes black, and then a third-person view appears. Evan looks around. He's on the hill from the game, but the figure is gone. The air feels hot and heavy. There's a dead tree and a buzzing sound coming from it. He walks down the hill and towards it. He notices there's a strange fog rolling in from the left of the screen. As he approaches the tree, the buzzing sound gets louder and louder. Evan picks up a gnarled stick from the ground and goes to investigate the tree. He pushes aside one of the branches and sees a rotting rabbit carcass torn to pieces. The buzzing sound is coming from a swarm of bees hovering around the carcass. Evan leans forward, disgusted, and pokes the rabbit carcass with the stick. The bees turn and attack him, sticking him all over the face. He screams and drops the stick, falling backwards. The buzzing sound stops and the bees fly away. Evan finds himself rolling out of control down the hill, unable to stop himself. He bounces off several rocks and then hits something squishy. He looks down at himself and screams. His arms are bent the wrong way, and his legs are broken and bleeding. Evan passes out from the pain. When he opens his eyes again, he's back at the top of the hill, as if he was just asleep. Blood-red letters in the sky read, Kill Hill 1. Feeling a throbbing in his hand, he looks down and realizes one of his fingers is missing. He hears the buzzing sound again and turns to see the swarm of bees returning. Evan turns and runs down the hill, screaming as he goes. He sees a small shack down the hill a little and runs towards it. He opens the door and shuts it behind him. There's a strange old man inside, rocking in a chair. He looks up at Evan and grins, making a buzzing sound. Evan looks around for a weapon to defend himself and grabs a knife from the table. The man starts making a loud buzzing sound and the bees go wild. Evan stabs the man in the throat and he stops making the noise. As he stands over the body of the old man, a distorted voice comes out of the man's throat. You shouldn't have done that, Evan. Evan steps back in horror as more bees come from the wound in the man's throat. The bees start forming letters in the air which turn back into the buzzing sound when they're finished. The bees spell out, Now you will pay. No! Screams Evan. Evan tries to stab the bees with the knife. He's stung hundreds of times before he can react. He wakes up at the top of the hill, lying on his back. He stands and looks down at himself. He's unhurt. That is, apart from his hand. He looks down to see another finger missing. Red letters in the sky spell out, Kill Hill 2. Evan runs down the hill as fast as he can. He knows that if he stays too long, he will lose another finger. He runs and runs, but he can't find the shack again. The fog gets thicker and thicker until Evan can't see anything in front of him anymore. All he can feel is the tilt of the hill beneath his feet as he stumbles blindly forwards. He can hear the buzzing sound getting louder, and he knows that it is too late to escape. He closes his eyes and screams as he feels the bees sting him all over his face. No, not this time. Evan gets up through the pain, covering his face with his arms. He runs as fast as he can through the fog, away from the bees. He trips over a rock and falls down the hill, rolling and tumbling. He hits his head on a rock and passes out. Evan wakes up in a hospital bed. Was it all a dream? He looks around to find he's at the top of the same hill, just in a hospital bed this time. As he tried to get his bearings, he feels the bed start to slowly roll down the hill, picking up speed as he goes. He screams as he rolls faster and faster towards who knows what. As the bed hits the rocks on the way down, Evan sees brief flashes of a hospital room. As he careens out of control, the bed smashes into a dark, swampy bog and starts sinking. Evan can feel the bog sucking him down, deeper and deeper and deeper. He sees a light in the distance and struggles towards it, but it gets further and further away as he sinks into the blackness. As his head sinks into the bog, he catches a glimpse of the old man, also half submerged. He's smiling.
You got yourself into this. Now you can stay there.
And then he is gone. As the swamp sucks him down, Evan's lungs fill with water. Evan wakes up at the top of the hill. Kill Hill 4. Another finger is gone, leaving him with 6 left. Evan starts panicking. There has to be a way out. He sees the tree in the distance and walks towards it. He has a feeling that if he can just plead for mercy, then everything will be all right. He reaches the tree and starts begging. Please, I'll do anything. I can't stay here. He looks around for anything that will help him. He sees the rabbit carcass is still at the foot of the tree. As he stares at it, the head jerks towards him in a disjointed movement and the jaw unhinges. The only way out is down, it says in a deep voice. The ground starts shaking and the earth rumbles. The rabbit carcass turns its head to the side, and out of its neck forms a hole. One huge bee erupts from the hole, buzzing furiously. Another appears, and another, and another, and another, until a whole swarm is hovering in front of him. There's the answer to your problem, they say in unison. What do you mean? Yells Evan, as the bees start circling him. If you go down there, then you won't have to stay on the hill. The choice is yours. Evan looks at the hole. Evan crawls into the rabbit's hole. Evan crawls down the hole and the bees close up the hole behind him. He finds himself in a huge underground cavern. Far above his head, he can see a circle of blue sky. Evan looks around for a way to get up out of the cavern, but all he can see is a perfectly circular hole in the ground with a steel-runged ladder leading down into the darkness. He looks up at the circle of blue sky and knows that his only hope of getting out of here is to venture further down into the darkness. As he walks towards the hole, the floor is squelchy and matted like rabbit fur. He looks down and realizes that the floor of the whole cavern is covered in dead, brown rabbits, all piled on top of each other. The smell is unbearable. Evan starts climbing down the hole using the ladder. The air is cold, almost painfully so. He can't see the bottom of the cavern, but after climbing down for a while, he sees a figure in the darkness. As his eyes adjust to the darkness, he sees that it is the old man. For the first time, Evan notices that the old man is missing all of his fingers.
Hello?
Says the old man.
Did you like my game?
What is this place? Asks Evan.
It is my home.
What's with all the rabbits?
I like rabbits.
You're crazy.
That's not a nice thing to say.
But it's true. The old man smiles.
Perhaps.
I want to get out of here. Can you help me? The old man doesn't respond. Instead, he looks intently at Evan with a creepy, blank stare. Evan looks away. "I'm cold," he says. The old man walks over to a filing cabinet that is covered in frost. He takes out a large blue file and hands it to Evan. On the front of the file, the word Save Zero is scratched into the cover. It reminds Evan of the game box and the words Kill Hill scratched into it. He opens the file. Inside are 3 photographs. One is a photo of Evan, taken from inside his room, almost like it was taken from the computer's perspective. The second photo is almost illegible, but it looks like some kind of animal. A rabbit, maybe. The final photo is of a house burning down. His house. Evan throws the file onto the ground. "What does this mean?" he demands. The old man turns and looks at the filing cabinet for a moment before turning back to Evan.
It's very simple. Pick a photograph, make your choice.
"What?"
This is a game. You have to pick a photograph, make your choice.
"This is stupid. What is this, a game for children?"
It's not a game for children. It's a game for adults.
Evan's hand hovers over the photos, unsure. As he deliberates, he begins to hear a faint sound of buzzing start in his ears. He reaches down and picks up the photo of the rabbit. The buzzing gets louder. He drops the photo, and the buzzing stops.
"The rabbit," says the old man. "I should have known. That was a poor choice."
What's going on? Tell me what's going on." The old man says nothing. Instead, he turns and walks over to a door in the wall of the cavern. He opens it and steps through into the darkness. Where are you going?" Evan yells, but the man is gone. The cavern begins to shake, and Evan can hear the sound of rushing water coming from somewhere far below. He looks up and sees the circle of blue sky is growing smaller. It won't be long before it closes up completely. He realizes that there is another door in the cavern. It has a carving of a rabbit on it. Evan runs over to the door and tries to open it, but it's locked. He looks around desperately for the old man, but he's nowhere to be seen. "Hello?" he says. "Let me out of here." Evan picks up the photo of the rabbit. It feels warm and damp. He runs back and slides the rabbit photo underneath the door. The door unlocks and opens. Evan runs through it. The cavern is shaking more violently than ever. Evan can barely stand up, and the sky above him is now a tiny, thin line. He looks around at the ground and realizes that he is standing on hundreds of dead rabbits, all piled on top of each other. He looks up just in time to see the circle of the sky close up. The ground shakes one last time, and Evan falls over. The shaking stops. Evan is in darkness. He tries to scream, but no sound comes out. He can't even hear his own voice. He feels fur on his face. His arms have turned into legs. He tries to stand up on his new rabbit legs and falls over again. He feels a pain in his stomach. He looks down and sees a bulge moving through his stomach, like a snake slithering through the grass. He tries to touch it, but he can't move his arms anymore. They've turned into tiny little legs. He feels the bulge move through his chest, upwards towards his throat. He opens his mouth to scream, but all that comes out is a faint, high-pitched squeak. He feels his skull crack open as a second bulge grows out of it, pushing through his skin like it's made of paper. He feels his brain pulsating, changing. He looks up, and in the darkness, he can just make out a tiny speck of light. He reaches for it, but it's too far away. He can feel the bulges moving through his neck, towards his face. He can't close his mouth now. His lips are gone. He feels his skin split as the bees push out of his face. The buzzing gets louder. He reaches a tiny little leg up to his face as the bees pour out of it. They fly around him in circles, like they're swimming in water. He can feel them all around him, inside him. There's a blinding flash of light, and Evan opens his eyes to find he's in a hospital bed, surrounded by doctors. There are machines buzzing all around him. He sits up, and a doctor comes running over. "What?" he begins to say. but the doctor shushes him. You're awake. You had us worried for a second. He looks up into the doctor's eyes, and there's something familiar about him. The doctor leans in to Evan's ear and whispers,
Did you like my game?
Evan is about to respond, but he's rushed by the other doctors fussing over him. When he looks up, the old man is gone. Evan feels a pain in his hand. He realizes he is clutching a dead bee. When Evan gets home, he can't find the game cartridge anywhere, but he knows what happened. He's still missing his fingers, and the buzzing in his ears hasn't stopped, but it's quieter now. If you enjoyed this story and all its spooky delights, then make sure to grab yourself a limited edition t-shirt so the frights never end. Seriously though, it's actually pretty dang cool. Doig Swift are also cool. Prove me wrong. Spoilers, you can't.